So I have something that I want to bring to your attention. Everybody knows the building I'm about to talk about. Everybody knows it because it's a gorgeous building. And everybody knows it because if you spend any time downtown, you're going to walk past this building. And if you've spent any time Owensboro, downtown Owensboro, with the gorgeous riverfront now, you're going to discover that there's this building which is sat empty for as long as I've been in town, 2011. So post a decade, there was a building that sat downtown empty for a whole decade, and everyone that spent time downtown has every wife that has ever, for 5 minutes, wandered the lovely streets of downtown Owensboro, second in the riverfront, sometimes even Third Street if you go over to Colby's and have a sandwich. Some Fourth Street now to go to the deli and get a sandwich. Every wife that has spent time downtown has turned to her husband, whether it's during the summertime, the winter time, the fall time, the spring, has pointed to that building and said, we could do this in there. We could do this in there. It could be a wedding venue. It could be 3 stories of restaurant. It could be this. It could be that. One story could be a boutique. The next could be a coffee shop. And the bottom could be a cigar place. Everyone that's ever walked past this building has had this idea. And especially every wife, because it's a gorgeous looking building. And every husband, when their wife has turned to them and said that, whether they're sat on the patio outside the pub, previously Gambrinus, previously that one tapas place, previously, what was the other thing? Sushi, the terrible sushi place. Well, they sat outside the bistro. There's that gorgeous black brick building, which no one knows the address to. Every wife has said, we could do this in there. Every husband has always said, well, I bet that's an expensive building. I bet it's expensive. Every wife said, really? No, nothing's going in there. No one's bought it. No one's done anything. And that's true. That's true. So every husband was right. And every wife was also right that it could be a million different great things. Every husband said it's probably expensive. They probably want too much for it. And every wife has said, yeah, but we could do some really good things. Both are right. Both are right. So I used to work downtown right next to that building. I used to bus tables first at the bistro. Second, I used to wait tables at the bistro. Every day I'd walk past that building, which no one knows the address to, but everyone knows the one I'm talking about. It's 3 stories. It's a huge, gorgeous building. And in fact, the only way you can know what building, you would think the address would be on the building, but instead of the address, it says dedicated to God and then has some scripture verses on the window at the top. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I have. So I've been around this building for a decade now. I walked past it every day on my way to work. And I've seen it go through variations of people selling it. First was Gulfstream. Gulfstream had Felice on the window. Cool Scott Higdon, or whoever it was at the time. I think it was just Matt Hayden's number was on the window. After that, it went for sale by owner, and it had paper up on the windows. You couldn't even see in it. You couldn't even see inside there. And its most recent variation, and I'm sure throughout all that time, people were calling that number and being told a pretty high price. You can go next door to Peachtree, he'll tell you something remarkable about it, how it used to be this and how it used to be that. Now they've finally taken down the paper. You can see inside. They've taken down the paper. They've put up some pretty fairy lights. Looks like a magical forest in there. They'll put Christmas trees up at Christmas time inside the windows now. And they've finally put the price on the window. And the price is $2 million. Now, it's probably a fair price for a piece of downtown real estate, 3 stories, 11,000 square feet. It's probably a fair price. Someone's probably making a chunk of change on it, but it's probably a fair price. But the problem is, I don't want you to hear me say that the person selling it is greedy or that the price is wrong. It's probably fair. But the problem is, it's a $2 million box with fairy lights. So whoever purchases it, maybe it's a housewife, whoever purchases it is looking at 3, 4, 5, 6 million to do what they want in there. That's if they do all 3 floors. 6 is probably high too. 2 or 3 million added on to the sales price of 2. Now, I'm not dragging on anyone, but if you look at 4 million to renovate that place and put a restaurant in there and have a private dining hall upstairs, and then in the basement, some cool dining room too. Your restaurant is going to have to pull probably more than all the other restaurants on 2nd Street combined. That one building. And like every other restaurant that's been downtown, that's come and gone, you have to go through a phase of figuring it out. Because you'll go through the phase of, yep, we're open, we're flying. You'll go through the phase of, that was actually really tough. All our key staff quit. They moved somewhere else with some tenure that have systems in place. Now we're going to suck for 6 months, and then we're going to finally get back on track. Like everyone that ends up anywhere, any restaurant that ends up anywhere in Owensboro. So, what do you do with a place like that? Now, I just want to put some pieces together so people can start discussing what could go in downtown. Because 2 doors down from this gorgeous building, you have the Apex building, which was sold at an auction and is also empty. 2 doors the other way, you have Jack Wells Incorporated office building, which is also gorgeous, which is also empty. 2 blocks down, you have an Empire, which used to be Waxworks, which is mostly empty, or at least it's just a storage place. Go a little bit further down 2nd Street, you've got a bunch of old insurance offices or old law offices, which are all mostly empty too. Now, I don't have the answers. But I do know that Owensboro, somewhere, Chamber of Commerce probably partnered with some grant program. Not sure of the exact answer to that, but I do know that they are offering $5,000 or more to relocate to Owensboro if you're a remote worker, which I think is genius. I hate government spending, but I think it's clever. If you're going to spend it, you may as well spend it getting economy here. Remote workers, there's a great relocation in America. Remote workers are moving. And I have said for a long time that Owensboro is probably the best place to live in the world if you have a good remote job. If you have a bad remote job, it's also probably one of the best places to live. Why? It's 2 hours from Nashville. It's 2 hours from Louisville. It's 3 hours from Cincinnati. It's 3 hours from Indianapolis. You can get a flight out of Owensboro to St. Louis, which is also 3 hours away. You can get a flight out of Owensboro to Las Vegas, I believe. I think you can go to Orlando too. If you want to go a little bit further afield, pay a little bit more, go over to Evansville, which is 45 minutes away. You can fly anywhere in the world out of Evansville. I think you could even probably fly from Owensboro to Nashville to wherever you wanted. So back to the building. I don't know why the city, knowing that a building's going to sit there for a long period of time, and either a big bank comes through and says, we'll renovate it, we're going to have the coolest downtown spot ever, which is probably not big enough for. And it becomes just a cubicle space, which would bring a lot of business to the existing restaurants of downtown Owensboro and other businesses. Or something happens where office rents are available to remote workers in downtown Owensboro. If Owensboro has an idea that we can lure remote workers to come work in Owensboro, they should also capitalize on those remote workers and offer them a space. Because if you pick up a $2 million mortgage, say you didn't even put any money down, that's about 15 grand a month. That's a chunk of change. You add on some debt on top of it with the renovation loans. You may be pushing 25K a month in office space. You've got to be pulling maybe $500,000 a month to justify that and the amount of workers that you would put in there. So maybe a bank. I don't know though. Honestly, I don't know how much banks make a month, but it's going to be a big number for anyone to be incentivized to come in there. Or do you, as a city, take a loss on it, just like the convention center, which only just made money last year, I think? No, it wasn't last year. It was like last month.